Now let's go back to the project and we'll configure the board. Note this button to simplify workflow. As we've customized the workflow for the project, it's no longer simplified, but it gives you an option to return if you wish. Now note the in-code review status in the unmapped statuses area. We need to map this unmapped status to either an existing column or a new column on the board. If we don't, you won't see issues in this status on the board. So let's click Add Column and we'll name it In Code Review. And we'll drag the in-code review status to this column. Now you can grab these grey dots and move it around, but let's keep it in between In Progress and Done. And now we'll click back to board, and now we see our new in-code review column on the board. Let's verify the workflow and the board works as expected. So we'll start creating a new issue. In the Rocketeers app, we'll leave it as bug and we'll give it a summary and a description and click Create. Now to see an issue go through the workflow, we need to create a sprint. We'll go to the backlog page and click on Create Sprint. We'll drag our new issue up to the sprint and then we'll start the sprint. We'll accept the defaults. Now let's grab our new issue and notice that we can only drag it to the In Progress column. And from In Progress, we can only go back to To-Do or to In Code Review. And then from In Code Review, we can either go back to In Progress or to Done. This is because we've now set up our new workflow. It's no longer using the simplified workflow where you could drag it to any column. Later we'll use this workflow for other development projects. Ideally you want to configure a common workflow for certain types of projects, then share that workflow among those projects. You don't want to have a lot of unique workflows for most projects throughout your Jira instance, as this will increase your administrative load when these need to be updated. Now let's look at adding a different workflow for some issue types. Since only stories, bugs, and feature requests require code review, we'll add another simple workflow for project tasks. Let's go to the Jira Administration Workflows page. And again, we'll copy this business workflow. This time we'll call it Dev Task Workflow. And we'll leave it as the simple To-Do, In Progress, Done workflow. Now let's go back to the project. We'll go to Project Settings, to the Workflows page, and we'll add a workflow, add Existing, and select the Dev Task Workflow. Click Next, and we'll select Engineering Task, Epic, and Subtask. Click Finish, and then we'll publish this. Since you changed the workflow for some issue types, you need to map the in-code review status to a status in the Dev Task workflow, because in-code review doesn't exist in that workflow. So for each issue type, under this new status, we'll select In Progress and click Associate. We can see the workflow migration is complete, so we'll acknowledge. Now we see that only stories, bugs, and feature requests use the dev code workflow we created earlier, and other issue types use the dev task workflow. Let's verify the workflow for tasks. Let's go back to the project. We'll go to the backlog page. We'll create a new issue. We'll use the engineering task issue type this time. Give it a summary and create. Now let's drag this up to the sprint and confirm. We'll go back to the active sprints page, and here we see our new engineering task. Now we can see that we can only drag this to In Progress and Done. We can't drag it to the In Code Review column, as they're the only statuses in the workflow that are assigned to the engineering task issue type.